3 seconds. That's how long it took for Superman to fall from the sky. And in that silence, a story far darker than you know began. This isn't just about the accident. It's about the shocking secrets he was already hiding, from the first family he left behind to the suicidal thoughts he confessed in his hospital bed. He woke up paralyzed, believing his life was over and asking his wife to let him die. This is the true story of the complex man behind the cape and the stunning secrets that define both his life and his death. The first words spoken over his unmoving body were a chilling cry. "He's not breathing." A frantic paramedic began rescue breathing, forcing air into the lungs of the world's most famous face, keeping him tethered to life by a thread. Those on the scene feared a broken neck, but no one could comprehend the true catastrophic scale of the injury. It was a moment of sheer chaos and desperation under a quiet Virginia sky. Just minutes before, he was riding his thoroughbred, a powerful horse nicknamed Buck. This was no casual trail ride. It was a competitive equestrian event, a passion he pursued with the same intensity he brought to his film roles. As he approached the third jump, a routine obstacle, Buck suddenly froze, catapulting the 6'4" actor forward. In that split second, his hands were caught in the bridle and his full body weight was thrown headfirst to the ground. At the hospital, the diagnosis was more horrifying than anyone imagined, and it came with a shocking medical term: internal decapitation. Reeve had shattered his C1 and C2 vertebrae, the two highest bones that connect the skull to the spine. He was only alive because his head hadn't fully severed from his spinal column, a medical miracle in itself. Doctors were faced with the monumental task of trying to reattach his head to his body. When Christopher Reeve finally awoke from sedation, the terror was absolute as he pieced together his new reality. Unable to speak due to a ventilator, he saw his wife Dana and mouthed the heartbreaking words, "Maybe we should let me go." This was his darkest secret laid bare. The man of steel, the global symbol of strength, had given up all hope. It was a moment of profound despair that the public would not learn about for years. Dana Reeve, seeing the terror in his eyes, refused to let him go. She looked at her husband and spoke the words that would anchor his soul. "I will say this once and only once. I will support whatever you want to do because this is your life." Then she leaned in closer, adding the powerful vow that changed everything. "But I want you to know that you're still you and I love you." To understand the fall, you have to understand the myth he represented. In the 1970s, Hollywood was on a massive hunt for Superman. Yet the handsome, Juilliard-trained Christopher Reeve was almost dismissed for being too young and slender. Producers wanted a movie star, but director Richard Donner saw something no one else did. He saw a man who could genuinely make you believe he was both Clark Kent and the Man of Steel. Reeve famously refused to wear a muscle suit, believing the integrity of the character demanded a real transformation. He began a grueling workout regimen with David Prowse, the man inside the Darth Vader suit, packing on over 30 pounds of solid muscle. His discipline was astounding, creating the powerful physique the world would come to associate with absolute strength. It was this dedication that made his later physical state all the more tragic. After Superman premiered in 1978, Christopher Reeve became arguably the most famous man on the planet overnight. But this fame was a double-edged sword, trapping him in a persona of flawless virtue and strength. He wasn't just an actor playing a role. To millions, he was Superman. This created an immense psychological pressure to live up to an impossible, alien standard of perfection. A dark cloud of rumor has always followed the franchise, a so-called Superman curse, believed to affect its stars. From George Reeves' mysterious death to misfortunes befalling other cast members, a narrative of tragedy was attached to the role. For a time, Christopher Reeve seemed to have broken it, soaring to heights of fame and success. But in hindsight, his accident became the most famous and devastating chapter in the legend of the curse. Reeve was deeply afraid of being typecast and spent years fighting to prove his versatility as an actor. He took on challenging roles in films like the romantic fantasy Somewhere in Time and the clever thriller Death Trap. He wanted the world to see him as a serious artist, not just a comic book hero in tights. This constant struggle to escape the cape defined his career and his private ambitions. Long before Dana, there was another great love in Christopher's life, British modeling executive Gay Exton. They met in 1977 and quickly became a power couple, embarking on a passionate relationship that would last a decade. However, their life together has become a forgotten chapter in the Christopher Reeve story. They were partners during his meteoric rise to fame, a whirlwind of film sets and red carpets. During his decade with Gay, Christopher Reeve became a father to 2 children, a son named Matthew and a daughter named Alexandra. He was a loving father, but his life with his first family remains a little-known part of his biography. These children were born at the absolute height of his Superman fame, growing up with a father who belonged to the world. The story of this first family is crucial to understanding the man he was. Despite having 2 children with Gay, Reeve was haunted by a deep-seated fear of marriage and walked away from the relationship in 1987. This decision to leave his partner and his 2 young children was a shocking secret he rarely spoke of publicly. He was a man adored for his on-screen heroism, yet he was privately grappling with the decision that left his first family fractured. It was a contradiction that would shape the rest of his life. The secret that fueled his fear of commitment was a painful part of his own childhood. Reeves' own father, the academic Franklin Reeve, had divorced his mother and largely abandoned the family when Christopher was a boy. He later confessed that in leaving Gay, he felt he was repeating the very sin that had caused him so much pain. This dark inheritance was a cycle he felt powerless to break. After leaving Gay, Reeve navigated life as a single superstar, a life that came with immense pressure and temptation. At his side through it all was his Juilliard classmate and closest friend, Robin Williams. Their bond was forged long before fame, and they supported each other through the dizzying highs and dangerous lows of Hollywood stardom. They were brothers in a world that few could understand. Reeves' horse riding accident wasn't a random fluke. It was the tragic culmination of a life lived on the edge. He was a licensed pilot who had flown solo across the Atlantic Ocean twice in a small single-engine plane. He was also an expert sailor, a gifted skier, and a certified scuba diver, constantly seeking the next thrill. This secret addiction to risk was a core part of his identity, a stark contrast to his safe, heroic image. In 1987, a world-famous but lonely Christopher Reeve walked into a cabaret in Williamstown, Massachusetts, and saw a beautiful young woman singing on stage. Her name was Dana Morosini, and he was instantly mesmerized by her talent and spirit. He returned night after night until she finally agreed to a date, beginning a romance that would become legendary. It was a fateful meeting that would redefine both of their lives. Despite his deep love for Dana, Reeves' fear of commitment persisted for years. He resisted the idea of marriage, still haunted by the ghosts of his parents' divorce and his own past. It took Dana's quiet strength and an implicit ultimatum about their future for him to finally confront his demons. He eventually proposed, finally ready to build the family he both craved and feared. So the man who fell from that horse in 1995 was infinitely more complex than the public knew. He wasn't just the perfect hero. He was a man shadowed by his father's abandonment and his own. He was a father to 3 children by 2 different women, a thrill seeker, and a soul who had only recently conquered his fear of marriage. In the darkest days in the ICU, a doctor with a Russian accent burst into Reeves' room, announcing he was a proctologist and was there to perform an exam. As Reeve stared in horror, the doctor pulled off his mask to reveal it was Robin Williams. For the first time since the accident, Reeve laughed, and in that moment, he knew that somehow life was worth living. A shocking and unspoken secret of such injury is the astronomical cost of staying alive. Reeves' medical care cost an estimated $400,000 a year, a crushing financial burden even for a successful actor. He was forced to sell property and rely on his insurance, which was rapidly running out. This constant private financial stress was a battle he fought alongside his physical one. In 1996, the world held its collective breath as Christopher Reeve made his first public appearance at the Academy Awards. As he emerged on stage, thin and in his wheelchair, a wave of shock and emotion swept through the audience. The room erupted in a thunderous, tearful standing ovation that lasted for minutes, a powerful salute to his incredible courage. Reeve quickly channeled his anger and grief into a powerful new purpose. He established the Christopher Reeve Foundation, dedicating his life to advocating for those with spinal cord injuries. Using his famous voice, he lobbied politicians, challenged scientists, and gave hope to millions who had been forgotten. The Man of Steel had found a new, more important war to wage. For years, doctors believed the spinal cord, once severed, could never recover. Christopher Reeve refused to accept this, and his body miraculously proved them wrong. Through a grueling exercise regimen, he eventually regained the ability to feel touch, hot and cold all over his body, and could even move his left index finger. His progress was a medical earthquake, rewriting textbooks and inspiring a generation of scientists. Determined not to let his paralysis destroy his artistic life, Reeve returned to filmmaking to direct the 1997 HBO movie In the Gloaming. He commanded the set from his wheelchair, using a small microphone to communicate with his actors and a video monitor to see their performances. It was an extraordinary feat of will, proving that his mind and his spirit remained as powerful as ever. Behind the inspirational headlines was the secret daily grind of life as a caregiver. Dana Reeves' life was completely consumed by Christopher's needs, a relentless cycle of medical routines and emotional support. She later admitted the pressure was immense, a quiet, heroic sacrifice made far from the public eye. Her strength was the invisible scaffolding that held their entire world together. Christopher and Dana's son, Will, was only 2 years old at the time of the accident. He grew up in a world where he could never receive a spontaneous hug from his father or play catch in the yard. His childhood was a testament to love's ability to adapt, but it was also shaped by the profound and constant presence of his father's disability. For 9 years, Reeve lived a life under constant threat. His paralysis made him extremely vulnerable to life-threatening complications, like blood clots, respiratory failure, and systemic infections. His daily existence was a medical tightrope walk, a continuous battle fought with incredible discipline and courage. He defied the odds for far longer than many doctors had ever thought possible. The final shocking secret of his death is that it was not his original injury that directly claimed his life. The ultimate cause was far more common and insidious. He developed a severe infection from a pressure wound, a persistent danger for paralyzed individuals, which quickly led to sepsis. It was this infection that sent his body into a state of shock he could not overcome. On his last day, Christopher Reeve was in good spirits, having spent the afternoon watching his son Will's hockey game from the bleachers. Later that evening, he went into cardiac arrest as the infection overwhelmed his system. He fell into a coma from which he would never wake, passing away the next day surrounded by his family. His end came with a suddenness that shocked everyone. The news of his death triggered a global outpouring of grief. People were not just mourning the actor who played Superman, they were mourning the man who became a greater hero in his wheelchair. He had redefined strength for a generation, proving that true heroism had nothing to do with physical power. He had become a real-life symbol of hope against impossible odds. In what seemed like a final cruel twist of fate, the story took another tragic turn. Just 10 months after Christopher's death, Dana Reeve, a vibrant, healthy woman who had never smoked, was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. The news was a devastating blow, a shocking injustice for a woman who had already sacrificed so much. It felt like a tragedy of almost Shakespearean proportions. Dana fought her disease with the same grace and courage she had shown for years. But her battle was a private one. Her primary concern was for her son, Will, who was about to be orphaned. She made arrangements for him to be raised by close family friends, ensuring his future was secure. Her final act was one of fierce, protective motherhood. The deaths of Christopher and Dana left a profound void, especially for their children. Matthew and Alexandra, now adults, had lost their father, and a young Will had lost both his parents in just 17 months. It was the heartbreaking final chapter of a family story marked by fame, tragedy, and incredible love. They were now left to carry on their parents' immense legacy. In the years since, all 3 of Reeves' children have picked up the torch. They serve on the board of the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, continuing the mission that became their parents' life work. They have turned their personal tragedy into a public cause, ensuring the Reeve name remains synonymous with hope and progress. So how should we remember Christopher Reeve? Was his a tragic story of a handsome star cut down in his prime? Or was it a story of unimaginable triumph, of a man who found his true purpose only after losing everything? The truth is, his story is a rare and powerful combination of both. The accident didn't destroy Christopher Reeve. It revealed him. It shattered the simple, two-dimensional myth of the movie star hero and exposed the complex, flawed, and far more interesting man underneath. He was forced to confront his own demons and mortality in the most public way imaginable. In doing so, he became more human and more heroic than a cape could ever make him. There is a powerful irony in his life's journey. He spent the first part of his career convincing the world that a man could fly, but he spent the second, more important part showing the world how a man who couldn't even move could change the world. Today, his legacy isn't just in films. It's alive in the scientific breakthroughs funded by his foundation. It's in the families who receive grants to make their homes wheelchair accessible, and the researchers who are closer than ever to repairing the spinal cord. This tangible, real-world impact is the true monument to his second act. His life was a study in shocking contradictions. He was a symbol of strength who privately contemplated suicide. He was a devoted family man who had first walked away from another. He was an icon of physical perfection who became a champion for the disabled, a life of incredible light and profound shadow. His profound friendship with Robin Williams remains one of Hollywood's most moving stories. Both men were beloved icons who battled immense private pain, one physical, one mental. They were two sides of the same coin, brothers who supported each other until the very end, and whose legacies are now forever intertwined in the public consciousness. And finally, there is the legacy of Dana Reeve, the unsung hero of this story. She was not just the woman behind the man. She was a force of nature whose unwavering love literally saved his life. Her own tragic end only magnifies her incredible strength, a testament to a love that truly knew no bounds. For those of us who grew up watching him, Christopher Reeve is part of our own story. Many of you remember exactly where you were when you first saw him fly on screen, and the deep shock you felt when you heard he had fallen. His journey from superhero to human hero is a story we all witnessed unfold over decades. It's a powerful, shared memory for an entire generation. Ultimately, the most shocking secret Christopher Reeve's life revealed was about the nature of strength itself. It isn't about being invincible or flawless, but about what you do after you have been shattered into a million pieces. True strength is the courage to put yourself back together, knowing you will never be the same, but that you can still be whole. Christopher Reeve's story is a shocking, inspiring, and heartbreaking epic of what it truly means to be human. It's a powerful reminder that our deepest secrets and our greatest strengths often grow from the very same soil. What is your most powerful memory of Christopher Reeve? Tell us in the comments below, and subscribe for more deep dives into the true stories of the icons you thought you knew. Thank you for watching.